This video focuses on the rational functions graphs and applying translations. So this is already in your notes when we had the parent functions unit. I just want to review with you for a minute. When you have a vertical shift, here's your original function, and when you add or subtract a d at the end of the function, you're going to move the graph up or down. So if you add d, it's going to affect the y-axis and move it up. If you subtract d, then it's going to move the graph down, and it's going to again affect the y-axis. So go ahead and pause if you need to and read. All right, horizontal shifts. Horizontal shifts happen when you have a transformation of a inside the function. And I always tell my students to think opposite here. So if you have a plus c inside the function, what it's going to do is it's going to move it to the left on the x-axis. It's going to affect the x-coordinates. If you have a minus c, then it's going to move it to the right and again affect the x-coordinates. So it's going to move it to the right. So think opposite when you have a horizontal shift inside the function. All right. Let's go ahead and practice this. So here's a function, y equals 1 over x minus 3. The parent of this function is the reciprocal function, 1 over x. So let's just kind of quickly graph this one again, 1 over x, just to see what it looks like. So here's your x, here's your y table. When you substitute 1 in, 1 over 1 is 1. You substitute 2 in, you get 1/2. Remember, when you substitute 0 in, you get undefined. Substitute -1 in, you get -1. Substitute -2 in, you get -1/2. So you can just not write down the graph of this parent function on here. I'm just going to quickly do it for you. So there's your asymptotes, if you can remember. Here's your critical point. One more looks like this. All right, so here's that point 1, 1, critical point. Now we have another critical point down here at -1, -1, and it creates this curve. All right, now let's go ahead and apply the transformation that exists in this problem. All right, so what we have is a translation, and this is inside the function, so the 1 over x piece. We have to think opposite. So it's going to affect the horizontal axes, and it's going to push all of the x values to the right 3 units. So one thing you could do is you could take this t-chart and move everything to the right, kind of like we've done all year. Or just look at this first critical point, 1, 1. Move it to the right 3 units. So this first point, 1, 1, moving it to the right, is going to be at 4, 1. So here's this point over here, 4, 1. That means your asymptotes are going to move 3 to the right. So here's your new asymptote. So this I would say you need to write down now. Your first asymptote vertical is now at x equals 3. All right. Now, did we move the horizontal axes, or did we move it up or down at all? No. So that same horizontal asymptote is going to exist at y equals 0. All right. So now, the other point that I want to graph is this one right here. That other critical point, -1, 1. When we push it to the right, just pick it up. Here it originally is. Count 1, 2, 3. So there's your new point. Create those little curves in here. So here's our point over 4, up 1. And then this new point here is over 2, down 1. Our asymptotes, our vertical asymptote has pushed over to the right 3 units. Our horizontal asymptote has not moved at all because we do not have any vertical shifts. So it's still at y equals 0. Our domain are our restrictions. So that's where your asymptote occurs. So the domain is all real numbers except for x cannot be 3. The range is where you have your horizontal asymptote. So it's all real numbers greater than 0 and less than 0, or you can just say, if you want to, y cannot be 0. That's probably a better way. All right, here's a second example. Notice the difference where my translation is. This is outside the function. If I go back to this one, this is inside the function. So this is outside. So since it's outside, it's going to push up our original parent 5 units. So I'm going to quickly just graph our parent again. You don't have to do this piece. Our original parent. There are our asymptotes. Our critical point 1, 1. And -1, -1. It's up to you if you want to graph the original parent. All right, so now how are we going to get this graph to go up 5 units? So to go up 5 units, our asymptote on our horizontal is going to go up 5. So here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So here's our new horizontal asymptote. We can go ahead and write that down here. Horizontal asymptote at y equals 5. Also, you should denote it on your graph. So there's your horizontal asymptote. Now, are we moving it right or left at all? No. So our vertical asymptote still stays at x equals 0. So we're still at x equals 0. All right. So now, remember those critical points, 1, 1, and -1, 1. I'm just going to write them on my chart. 1, 1, -1, -1 when we have our parent, 1 over x. Now, how do we get those to go up? You can either physically count up 5 units or add 5 to all your y values. So I'll do both. So my x's are going to stay as they are, 1 and -1, and then my y's, I have to add 5. So 1 plus 5 is 6. -1 plus 5 is 4. Or look over here when we graph it. Here's the critical point 1, 1. We're going to count up 5 units. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's our critical point. So now we're over 1 and then up 6 units. Now just go ahead and create that curve. All right. This point here in our critical point at our parent was -1, 1. Count 5 units up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There is our point, -1, up 4. And now just create our curve. All right, domain and range. Again, go with your asymptotes. So since my domain, or my vertical asymptote is at x equals 0, then my domain is all real numbers except for x cannot be 0. And then our range goes with our horizontal asymptote. Since our horizontal asymptote has been moved up 5 units, the range is y cannot be 5. All right, now let's go ahead and do 2 transformations here. So we have one transformation of +2. That's inside the function. Think opposite. So we're going to go left 2. Then we have a -4. That's outside the function. That's going to affect the y-axis, and it's -4. It's going to go down 4. So this one, let's graph our parent. So here is our asymptotes at x equals 0, and our other asymptote at y equals 0. And remember, we have our critical points, 1, 1, and -1, -1. All right, I'm just going to write them in my chart over here so I can keep track of them. 1, 1, -1, -1. In my parent, 1 over x, the reciprocal function. All right, now we're going to apply the 2 transformations. We're going to move it left 2 and down 4. How are we going to do that? Well, one thing is you just go ahead and move your asymptotes. Or start by finding your critical points and move that way. I'm going to do move the asymptotes first. So let's take care of this left 2. So we're going to move our vertical asymptote left 2 units. So here's our new asymptote, left 2. So it's now at x equals -2. All right, and then we're going to go down 4 units. Our new horizontal asymptote is going down 4 units to y equals -4. Now our our points are going to also shift with it. So we're going to go left 2, so here's our critical point, 1, 1, left 2, 1, 2, and then down 4, just count, 1, 2, 3, 4. There is our point. Left 1, down 3. Now you could go to your chart instead. If you want to go left 2, you're going to subtract 2, and then to go down 4, you're going to subtract 4 from all your y's. So you would start here with these points. Subtract 2, so 1 minus 2 is negative 1, or 1 minus 4 is negative 3. All right, so there's our first curve. Now, our other critical point, I'm going to change it to black here because it's kind of overlapping here, is right here. Our first critical point in this bottom region is at negative 1, negative 1. We're going to go count left 2, so 1, 2. And now down 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Right in there. So now our point is at negative 3, negative 5. Or look at your points here. Negative 1 minus 2 is negative 3. Negative 1 minus 4 is negative 5. All right, so let's create what a mess we have going on here, but hopefully you're getting the gist of it. Here is my first curve. I'm going to write over here in black. And there is my second curve. And here are my two critical points, negative 1, negative 3, negative 1, negative 3, negative 5. All right, wrap it up on this problem, domain and range. The domain is your vertical asymptote shift, negative 2, range, y cannot be negative 4. All right, so that's how you can apply transformations with the reciprocal functions. And we're just focusing on translations left and right and up and down.